Hello. Yes, as you read by the title, I'm canceling Charm. It's like I've been very reluctant to stop this series because it's just been so special to me. It's like the first series that I ever started on this channel, and just like I was so excited for it. But cat, if you hear background noises, that's probably Dusty. He's right next to me. Anyway, it's just, but like I've lost all motivation for it, and I don't want to keep pushing myself to do something that I'm not happy with. But I don't want to leave you all hanging, so I'm going to explain the story in probably the most convoluted way possible, but I'm going to try not to. And I'm also going to explain Souls, because that's connected to this. Okay, very beginning, we have Kira, Ellie, who's like the blonde, stressed one. She hasn't shown up much. And Sarah. And so Kira and Sarah are sisters, and they were homeschooled like most of their lives until their parents finally let them go to public school, and Kira became friends with Ellie, and they found the sun charm thing and did some magic shit together, and Kira was spending less and less time with her sister, and that made her sister upset because abandonment issues. And so they fought about it a lot, and they got corrupted, which is basically in this world, corruption is an elemental, and if you're corrupted when you're alive, when you die, you turn to a ghost, and those ghosts corrupt other people by, I guess, possessing them, basically. So they both got that, and that just made things worse. And so they had some big fight, and corruption, the elemental himself, shows up and kind of puts the ghost curse, Kira didn't die and turned to a ghost, but she's essentially a ghost. That's what the curse is. That's what corruption put on her. And corruption turned Sarah into Glitch, or Rebecca, as Ushi calls them. Basically everyone's mind was wiped of Sarah. And their parents forgot about Kira. And Ellie, after watching her friend basically die, was just nope, I don't want anything else to do with this magical stuff, and just dropped the charms into a bottom of a lake and burned the book. But corruption's basically only goal is to fuck with people's lives, so she brings back the book and retrieves the charms and hides them around. Cut to 10 years in the future, Leah and Claire find the charms. And, they have some adventures. You see them, go into the library. And the ghost they see in the library is the ghost that was corrupting Kira. But, during, her 10 years of basically solitude, she was able to get rid of the ghost. And, she's better now. And so at the point that I left off, the person that Kira made a deal with to get her curse gone was corruption. Right after that, a new character shows up. Her name is Cherry. She's an Earth Arrow, and she's a part of this pirate crew in Entoria called Astral, and Astral will be important in elementals. Anyway, so Cherry shows up, and she immediately realizes that Claire is a moon arrow. So Claire isn't human, she's a moon arrow. And Claire obviously doesn't believe this at first, but Cherry's still trying to convince her that she's an arrow and to get her to be a part of Astral for some fucking reason, I don't know. So, like, so Claire does eventually, like, figure out that she's an Arrow and she's got wings and stuff, and Cherry convinces her that, like, no one will accept her as an Arrow, but, like, Claire's not entirely on board until she goes home and finds out that Lilia's parents, her aunt and uncle, knew the entire time that she was an Arrow, and so she runs off and gets, like, possessed by the ghost from the library, corrupted, and like Kira shows up, and they have a fight, and she gets rid of Ghost, and so now Claire has to deal with the fact that she's no longer human, and her aunt and uncle didn't tell her the whole time. After that, it's pretty fuzzy. But I know that, like, basically I'd want them to find Ellie and have a bit more of the story explained by her. They do help Kira get rid of her curse, and I don't know what happens in that in-between time. But eventually Sarah comes back because she had a similar deal with corruption where if she got her charm back, corruption would get rid of her curse. And so she gets back her charm, which is the moon necklace that Claire has, and, is existing again. And Kira gets back her memories of her, and they have a fight and such. And, like, some point in the battle, like, Sarah gets possessed by her corruption ghost. I've just been calling them corruption monsters. I don't know why. But she gets possessed by her ghost, and once they get rid of it, basically the corruption was, like, the only thing keeping Sarah's soul together. So after they get rid of that, she kind of dies and turns into a bird. And so, that's pretty upsetting. That Kira's definitely upset that her sister fucking died after not remembering her for 10 years. And so she, like, goes off on her own for a bit, and, like, a month later she comes back and, gives a letter to Ellie and Sarah, and goes off on an adventure with Amy, Claire, and Leah, and that's basically the end. Yeah. So how this ties into souls is that, so, like, souls, you probably figured out that, like, they get, like, this, like, Lai, Amber, Corbin, and Ray are, like reincarnated. Like there's, like, these set of souls that, like, get reincarnated every time they die, and the Lai is the life soul, and the one before her was Claire's mom. And that's, like, one of the connections to Turum. But the other one is that you probably, like, definitely noticed that C looks like Claire. And so basically, like, the souls, there's the love soul, the luck soul, the life soul, and the light soul. And there's a fifth soul, which is the time soul. But the time soul, like, kind of got thrown into another timeline a couple thousand years ago. And in that timeline that the time soul is in, Claire is the time soul. And around when she's, like, 18 or something, she kind of, like, fucks up time and gets thrown into the original timeline. So, like, in the Time Soul timeline, both Sarah and Kira were, like, made non-existent because in the original timeline, when C gets thrown in there, she intervenes in, like, corruption's whole thing, and so Sarah is the only one that gets non-existed, and Kira is only ghosted. Um, and so, like, C's kind of stuck in this new timeline, and she's kind of figuring it out, and eventually she finds, like, so, like, Claire's parents died in a car crash, and so, after her mom died, obviously, Lai, came to be, and C finds her and adopts her, and, you know, and, and everything else in Souls is pretty fuzzy. It's just kind of like just the Souls, like, doing magic shit, and C having, since, like, Kira wasn't there to fight off Ghost, C still has a corruption ghost attached to her, and, like, basically the overarching plot is getting rid of the corruption ghost. Yeah. So that's basically it. I think I covered everything. I'm not really sure. But yeah, really sad to let these characters go. I really love them, and this story has such, like, a special place in my heart. And I do want to revisit it someday, but I think for now, it's just not ready yet, and I want to focus on stories that I actually have motivation for and a clear vision, and that I'm hopefully going to be happy with. So, yeah. Goodbye, Charm. By the magical power of the flying squirrel, have a good day.